The world of criminal justice has undergone a massive transformation, thanks to the rise of forensic science. What began as simple tools like fingerprints has now blossomed into a full-fledged arsenal of high-tech innovations that allow us to solve cases that were once considered unsolvable. From the dusty ridges of a fingerprint to the invisible code of DNA, forensic science has radically altered how we catch criminals, free the innocent, and uncover mysteries that have eluded us for centuries. This is the evolution of forensic science. From fingerprints to DNA and beyond, a journey through the history of science that has reshaped justice forever. The idea of using science to solve crimes seems natural to us today, but it wasn't always that way. Thousands of years ago, ancient civilizations used simple forms of identification to help with trade and legal matters, laying the groundwork for what would eventually become one of the most powerful tools in the fight against crime. What began with ancient clay tablets eventually led to the development of some of the most groundbreaking forensic techniques used today. The ancient civilizations of Babylon and China were among the first to recognize the importance of fingerprints. As early as 3000 BCE, Babylonian merchants pressed their fingerprints into clay tablets to seal contracts and verify identities, according to the National Institute of Justice. It wasn't a matter of solving crimes. Rather, it was about establishing trust and confirming the authenticity of agreements. In China, during the Qin dynasty, 221 BCE, officials used thumbprints on legal documents to authenticate signatures, recognizing the uniqueness of the prints. These early uses of fingerprints were simple, yet they planted the seeds for what would later become a revolutionary technique in criminal investigations. Fast forward to the late 19th century, when forensic science as we know it today started to take shape. Sir Francis Galton, a British scientist, is often credited with pioneering the study of fingerprints for identification purposes. His groundbreaking work in the 1880s would lay the foundation for modern fingerprint analysis. In his 1892 book, Fingerprints, Galton meticulously classified the ridge patterns found in fingerprints, loops, whorls, and arches, and proved that these patterns were unique to every individual, making them a powerful tool for identification. Galton calculated the odds of two people having identical fingerprints at 1 in 64 billion, a statistic that would forever change the landscape of forensic science. But it wasn't just Galton who contributed to the development of forensic science. Dr. Henry Faulds, a Scottish doctor working in Japan, had proposed using fingerprints to solve crimes back in 1880. Faulds' observations on the permanence of fingerprint patterns provided the inspiration for Galton's work, and together their research set the stage for Scotland Yard to adopt fingerprinting as a legitimate method for solving crimes in 1894. This was the first time fingerprints were used in a criminal case, and it would mark the beginning of a new era in forensic science. By the early 20th century, fingerprints had become a critical tool for law enforcement. In 1901, Scotland Yard established the world's first fingerprint bureau, and the use of fingerprints in criminal investigations began to expand. The 1903 case at Leavenworth Prison in the United States marked the first time fingerprints were used in a courtroom, when they identified a murderer through prints left on a window. This marked a monumental shift in how criminals were apprehended. Fingerprints became a reliable form of evidence that could stand up in court. As time went on, the use of fingerprints continued to grow. By the 1920s, the FBI's Identification Division amassed a collection of millions of fingerprints, and with the introduction of automated fingerprint identification systems, AFIS, in the 1980s, the process of matching prints became faster and more efficient. These advancements were pivotal in solving high-profile cases, including the 1990 Night Stalker murders, Forensic technology had evolved to the point where investigators could scan and compare millions of fingerprints within seconds, dramatically changing how criminal investigations were conducted. As the world of fingerprinting continued to evolve, so did the tools available to forensic investigators. The late 19th century saw the birth of forensic science as a true discipline, thanks to pioneering figures like Alphonse Bertillon. Bertillon, a French criminologist, is often credited with creating the first system of criminal identification, known as anthropometry. In 1883, Bertillon developed a method for measuring the physical dimensions of a person's body, including the length of their arms, the width of their head, and the size of their feet. This system, known as Bertillonage, was used to identify repeat offenders, and by 1890, it had helped solve thousands of cases. But Bertillon's system, as effective as it was, had its limitations. As the 20th century progressed, forensic investigators needed something more reliable and precise. Enter the world of ballistics, toxicology, and document analysis, three key areas that would revolutionize criminal investigations. Ballistics, the science of examining firearms and ammunition, became crucial in solving violent crimes. As early as 1835, Henry Goddard linked a bullet's mold mark to a suspect in a murder case. By the 1920s, this science had evolved with the invention of the comparison microscope, which allowed forensic experts to match bullets to specific firearms. One of the most famous uses of ballistics came in the 1929 St. Valentine's Day massacre, where forensic experts used ballistics to identify the guns used in the crime, ultimately helping to convict the killers. Toxicology, the study of poisons and their effects, also became a vital tool in solving crimes. In 1851, Jean-Servais Staz, a Belgian chemist, successfully detected poison in the body of a murder victim, marking the first use of chemical analysis in a criminal case. This technique was used to convict the infamous Dr. Hawley Harvey Crippen in 1910, whose wife had been poisoned with hyoscine, a powerful drug. The use of toxicology in criminal investigations would become a cornerstone of forensic science, helping to solve countless cases of poisoning and foul play. By the 1890s, document analysis was also making strides. Investigators used handwriting analysis and ink testing to detect forgeries, and in the 1894 Dreyfus affair, these techniques were used to reveal the truth about a French army officer accused of treason. Forensic science was rapidly becoming an indispensable tool in the criminal justice system, helping investigators solve crimes with precision and accuracy that had never been possible before. As forensic science developed, so did its impact on high-profile cases. One of the most famous cases of the early 20th century was the 1910 Crippen murder, where forensic toxicology played a pivotal role in solving the crime. The case made headlines around the world, as Dr. Crippen was convicted of murdering his wife Cora after poison was found in her body. The case was groundbreaking not only for its use of forensic science, but also for the speed and efficiency with which it was solved. The success of forensic toxicology in this case helped solidify the field as an essential tool for investigators. By the 1930s, forensic science had become a cornerstone of criminal investigations in the United States. The FBI's Technical Laboratory, which was established in 1932, helped standardize forensic methods and provided a model for law enforcement agencies across the country. The FBI's role in solving landmark cases, including the infamous Lindbergh kidnapping, helped solidify the importance of forensic science in modern criminal investigations. As forensic science progressed through the 20th century, the biggest breakthrough in solving crimes came not from the tools of the past, but from the discovery of the most complex and powerful identification system known to humankind: DNA. In 1953, The structure of DNA was unveiled by scientists James Watson and Francis Crick, but it wasn't until the early 1980s that DNA's potential as a forensic tool was realized. This discovery would forever change the course of criminal justice, and what followed was a revolution in the ability to solve crimes, free the innocent, and identify unknown victims. The pivotal moment in DNA forensic science came in 1984, when British scientist Dr. Alec Jeffreys at the University of Leicester developed the first method for DNA fingerprinting. This technique identified unique genetic markers that could be used to match DNA samples from a crime scene to a suspect, or even exonerate an individual who had been wrongly accused. In 1986, DNA fingerprinting played a crucial role in the Narborough murders case, where it was used to both exonerate an innocent man and convict the true killer, Colin Pitchfork. Pitchfork became the first person in the world to be convicted through DNA evidence, marking the beginning of an entirely new chapter in forensic science. DNA was now the ultimate tool for both solving crimes and ensuring justice. The accuracy of DNA testing, giving odds of misidentification at 1 in 100 billion, was far superior to fingerprints, revolutionizing the criminal justice system in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades earlier. As DNA profiling became more widely used, it would not only solve high-profile crimes, but also become a cornerstone of cold case investigations, bringing closure to unsolved mysteries from decades past. Advancements in DNA profiling techniques kept pace with the growing demand for precision in criminal investigations. One of the most important innovations came in 1985 with the development of polymerase chain reaction, PCR, by scientist Kary Mullis. PCR allowed forensic scientists to take even the tiniest degraded samples of DNA, perhaps from a single strand of hair, a drop of blood, or even a speck of saliva, and amplify them for testing. This technology made DNA analysis possible even when the evidence left behind by criminals was minuscule or damaged. In the infamous O.J. Simpson trial of 1995, PCR testing played a critical role in analyzing the blood found at the crime scene, making it an essential tool in the prosecution and defense's arguments. As DNA profiling continued to evolve, another major development occurred in the 1990s with the use of short tandem repeat (STR) analysis. STRs focus on specific areas of the DNA molecule and are more efficient and accurate than earlier techniques. By the late 1990s, STR analysis became the FBI's standard for criminal investigations, and in 1997, the CODIS database, the Combined DNA Index System, was launched. CODIS allowed law enforcement across the United States to share DNA profiles, linking them across jurisdictions and even across state lines. This system dramatically expanded the reach of forensic science, enabling investigators to connect seemingly unrelated cases based on matching DNA evidence. As DNA technology continued to evolve, it didn't just impact the way we solved crimes. It had a monumental effect on exonerating people who had been wrongfully convicted. One of the most high-profile cases of DNA exoneration was that of Kirk Bloodsworth, who was convicted in 1985 for the rape and murder of a child in Maryland. Bloodsworth's case was the first in the United States where DNA evidence was used to exonerate a prisoner, and it marked the beginning of a new era in criminal justice. Since then, the Innocence Project, founded in 1992, has used DNA testing to free over 375 wrongly convicted individuals. The ability to look at DNA evidence and prove someone's innocence, sometimes decades after they were convicted, has been one of the most powerful developments in forensic science in recent history. This power of DNA profiling wasn't just about convicting the guilty. It was also about righting the wrongs of past miscarriages of justice. The Central Park 5 case, in which 5 young men were wrongly convicted of the 1989 assault of a jogger, was revisited in 2002 when DNA evidence identified the real perpetrator, Matias Reyes, and the 5 men were exonerated. It was a powerful reminder of the ability of DNA evidence to both solve cold cases and restore justice for those who were wrongfully accused. By the early 2000s, forensic science was making significant leaps in both its accuracy and its global reach. The role of forensic science was no longer limited to crime scenes. Digital forensics became a growing field with the rise of personal computers, smartphones, and social media offering new avenues for criminal investigation. Digital evidence became just as crucial as physical evidence in solving modern crimes. Whether it was hacking, fraud, or digital surveillance, forensic experts could now extract information from electronic devices, providing essential links between suspects and criminal activity. By the 2010s, nearly 90% of criminal investigations involved some form of digital evidence, according to the National Institute of Justice. In high-profile cases like the San Bernardino shooting in 2015, where law enforcement struggled to unlock an encrypted iPhone, digital forensics played an essential role in unraveling the case. It was a clear sign of how far forensic science had come, from the simple art of fingerprinting to the complex world of digital investigations. Experts began to use digital tools to access data from cloud storage, encrypted files, and even social media accounts, making forensic investigations more comprehensive and far-reaching. But as technology advanced, so did the challenges facing forensic scientists. While digital forensics provided unprecedented access to crucial evidence, it also raised ethical and privacy concerns. The use of facial recognition technology, for example, became a powerful tool for solving crimes, but it also led to controversies about misidentification, particularly among minority groups. In 2020, the ACLU conducted tests that revealed a 35% error rate in facial recognition software, leading to growing concerns about civil liberties and racial bias in policing. The ethical challenges of using such technologies were only compounded by the debates surrounding the privacy of individuals, particularly when it came to the use of DNA databases. In 2019, the use of GED-Match, a publicly available DNA database, raised concerns after it was used by law enforcement to solve crimes, such as the Golden State Killer case. The controversy surrounding the collection and use of genetic data brought privacy rights to the forefront of forensic debates. As forensic science continued to evolve, new technologies began to emerge on the horizon. CRISPR, a gene editing technology, was being tested in 2024 to identify genetic mutations and traits that could help trace suspects. Advances in nanotechnology were making it possible to detect trace chemicals at crime scenes, revolutionizing the way investigators approached drug busts and toxic spills. Forensic scientists were also experimenting with blockchain technology to secure evidence in digital cases, ensuring the integrity of data used in criminal investigations. These innovations promised to take forensic science to the next level, solving cases in ways that were previously unimaginable. The future of forensic science is both exciting and filled with challenges. As new technologies emerge, they open up new possibilities for solving crimes, but they also raise new ethical, legal, and societal questions. What role will AI play in the future of forensic science? How will the integration of augmented reality change crime scene investigations? What does the widespread use of digital forensics mean for privacy and civil rights? These questions will shape the field of forensic science in the coming decades, but one thing is certain: forensic science will continue to evolve, providing new tools and techniques that will help us solve crimes, free the innocent, and ensure that justice is served.